Welcome back to Van Hozochi, Mamarga Gasawati. We're going to be with me, Princess Mugisha. Let's start with the news headlines. President Paul Kagame speaks about those who always ask for sanctions against Rwanda, even though this would not solve their problems. On the international scene, Europe debates the future of the Russians' frozen assets. Rescuers steps up recovery operation as Southeast Asia froze death across 180. Let's take a short break to be back into the news details. Welcome back into the news details, and let's start our news in Rwanda, where President Paul Kagame speaks about those who always ask for sanctions against Rwanda, even though this would not solve their problems.
Maybe one of you will be asking, or you yourself had it on mind but didn't raise it. You would be asking, what is the East African SADC process? Because they were there. Or the AU, or whatever. That speaks volumes. And the reality is the knot is tied in one place. These problems are happening in Congo, but it seems the leaders don't care or don't know, or they have refused to take responsibility. They just keep daydreaming and talking about all kinds of things, and whenever they've gone all places, the only thing they know how is to keep asking sanctions, sanctions for Rwanda, sanctions for Rwanda. Okay, but if you sanction Rwanda, how does it solve your problem? How does it solve your mismanagement of your country affairs? How does it give citizenship rights to the people who have been complaining for decades and have had to take arms and fight you? How does it solve the problem of you having to import mercenaries to come and ask and fight for you? How does it do that? I mean, people should really see things for what they are, and you may hear so many stories about different things, but you also have the ability to see through all that and make your own judgment. So, summary of so much I have said, I'm always optimistic. I always hope there is a chance another day and the following day. But I remain prepared to take care of the business I have to take care of.
Turning to the next story, yesterday, the Ministry of Defense, Rwanda Defense Force, hosted defense attaches and associates accredited to Rwanda for a comprehensive briefing on the current security situation in the country and the region, as well as on RDF's engagement in peace support operation under multilateral and bilateral frameworks. The delegation was welcomed by Brigadier General Patrick Karetwa, Director General of International Military Cooperation. Honorable Juvenal Marizamonda, the Minister of Defense, delivered opening remarks commending the participants for their commitment to strengthening partnership with the Ministry of Defense in support for peace and stability. He reaffirmed Rwanda's dedication to working closely with bilateral and multilateral partners to address emerging security challenges. Now let's turn our focus to this story, where yesterday, Rwanda National Police spokesperson SCP Rutikanga, speaking to journalists at the conclusion of the fourth day of Turindeni Tugere Amahoro campaign in Musanze district, emphasized the initiative goal of reinforcing road safety. He noted that Tuindani Tugeraho Amahoro builds on the Gerayo Amahoro awareness campaign, underscoring the importance of avoiding behaviors that can lead to accidents and specifically argued drivers to respect speed limits and refrain from unsafe overtaking, stressing the need of adaptive driving to terrain in the north region. Let's take a short break to be back into the international news. Let's take a look onto the international news, where the death toll from the floods across the stretches of the Southeast Asia rose to at least 183 on Friday, with authorities in the region working to rescue the stranded citizens, restore power and communication, coordinate recovery efforts as the waters began to recede. Kamikaze then proceeds.
On the international news, let's start in Africa, where Guinea-Bissau's political crisis deepened on Thursday after opposition candidate Fernando Dias accused deposed President Umaro Sissoco Embalo of staging a fake coup to cling to power. Dias, who was Embalo's main rival in last week's tightly contested presidential election, insisted he had won the vote and denied any involvement in the military takeover. The military seized power on Wednesday, installing General Hotmainta Ali of Embalo as the country's transitional president for 1 year period. Embalo's whereabouts are unclear, though he told French media he had been arrested by soldiers. Despite calls from the opposition for nationwide protests, the capital Bissau remained calm on Thursday, with businesses and transport operating normally. The African Party for the Independence of Guinea and Cape Verde, barred from participating in the election, has backed Diaz. The takeover marks the latest in a long history of coups in Guinea-Bissau and adds to a growing trend of military interventions across West Africa amid increasing political instability. Proceeding, Europe is debating how to use Russia's frozen assets as Ukraine faces severe $65 billion budget gap over the next 2 years. With the US no longer providing new support under President Trump, Europe is struggling to keep financial aid flowing. Around 300 billion euros in Russian central bank assets remain frozen in Western institutions, including 185 euros billion held at Euroclear in Belgium. The European Commission proposes a reparation law that would let the European Union borrow 140 billion euros using these assets as backing without formally seizing them. Ukraine would only repay the loan once Russia pays war reparations. Supporters say this avoids breaking international law, but critics warn that Russia could retaliate and that investors might see the move as de facto confiscation. Belgium fears legal and financial blowback, while European Union states worry they may end up responsible for the payments if Russia refuses to pay. The debates remain unresolved as Ukraine urgently needs funding. Concluding the international news, rescue operations are intensifying across Southeast Asia as flood-related deaths reach at least 189 toll. Torrential cyclone-fueled rains and layered tropical storm in the Malacca Strait triggered widespread flooding across Indonesia, Thailand, and Malaysia. On Indonesia's Sumatra Island, the worst hit, officials confirmed 72 deaths by Friday morning. In many areas, communication remained down, roads are blocked by landslide debris, and power is cut, complicating relief efforts and leaving some communities inaccessible. Authorities are working to restore electricity and reopen roads while airlifting aid and emergency personnel to stranded areas. In Thailand, southern provinces and urban centers remain underwater. In Malaysia, evacuation of stranded citizens is underway. As floodwaters slowly recede, the region braces for further challenges amid ongoing rescue, recovery, and relief operations. Kamikaze Gislaine, Mama Rwagasawa TV.
As we come to the end, let's go back to the news headlines. President Paul Kagame speaks about those who always ask for sanctions against Rwanda, even though this would not resolve their problems. On the international scene, Europe debates the future of the Russians' frozen assets. Rescuers step up to recovery operation as the Southeast Asia floods deaths close 180. Thanks for having me. Stay tuned.